Hi, Jayanth. Good to see you back.
Hi, Leslie. Good to see you. Second week of 2024.
Yes, absolutely. So, my typical question with a lot more gusto: how was the weekend?
Though this weekend was good. I played a lot of pool and I
No,
picked
what?
up
1 second. What do you mean? That the other weekends were not good?
a little different. Okay, I played a lot
Okay.
of pool and I picked up guitar. I started playing Nothing Else Matters. So
You play
it went well.
pool, huh? This I didn't know.
And
I know.
I I
I
started
know that
playing
you.
pool and I started getting good at it. I
That's
started
that's
getting
better that
decent
you
at it.
started playing pool
Yeah.
because I know that you play badminton. I know that you play many other
Also,
games.
also.
Yeah. Uh,
How was
I just.
yours?
Uh,
Another bike ride?
Yeah, I went for the very long bike ride this time around.
Okay.
So it was like towards, the outskirts of Bangalore, for those who are not familiar with Bengaluru. So first I thought I would go to Nandi Hills, but then I just took a slight detour and then went off-road on one of those, as you say, off the beaten tracks kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And I
Must have been
really
fun.
enjoyed it. Yeah,
Must
it's
have
a
been
very,
fun.
absolutely, it's a very, very, what you say, liberating experience.
All unplanned
Wo-
rides are.
Oh yes, it was clearly an unplanned ride. And then of course now from when I came back, obviously my whole point was to keep in touch with what's happening at the Consumer Electronics Show because
Yeah.
last
Started
week
this
we
week.
spoke. Yeah, I mean interestingly we spoke about how the CES had lost its kind of
Relevance.
uh not I wouldn't be that harsh to say relevant, but I thought,
Mojo. Let's call it
yeah, the
Mojo.
mojo. It's more the mojo. But
Mojo.
surprisingly, I thought, this time around, I was sort of, I found it some of the tracks pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Of course, I liked the Siemens opening track, the
Yeah.
keynote,
Yeah.
which was speaking about the industrial metaverse.
Metaverse.
Uh, that in particularly, I liked it because one I have been, if you remember in the tech talk, I've been batting for this, which I find stupid when people say that the metaverse is dying. So I had to write, not only once, twice that
Yeah.
no, the metaverse is not dying and
Yes.
AI is certainly not killing it.
Yes.
It was a sense of kind of irritation in me. Please, when
All
people
these
make the,
all these technologies capture imagination by coming off with consumer applications and use cases and then evolve on the maturity cycle to cater to the industry and the enterprise side because that's where they get matured essentially because the business models the longevity everything gets taken care in that domain.
yeah,
So metaverse is going
yeah,
through
for
that
me,
phase
it was
right now.
clearly a vindication of that point. Of course, I like the point that he clearly made this distinction of the metaverse and the industrial metaverse because I thought that was pretty important. Where he spoke about the three basic building blocks of the industrial metaverse. One, of course, being the digital twin. The second being the software defined automation, which of course we have been talking about, and the third part is data and AI. So I mean they're logical, but I like the distinction he made between the metaverse and the industrial metaverse, and so that's one part. Of course, he also spoke about virtual PLCs and all that stuff. Now, for the benefit of viewers and listeners, PLCs are basically programmable logic controllers. And these are typically used on the shop floor. I mean, these are PLCs are more than 2 decade, 3 decade kind of. They've always been on the shop floor, and they're used with their CNC machines, which are the computer numerical controlled machines. So it's always, a lot of the stuff comes from the shop floors. It, I love saying this always. It comes from the aviation sector, flows to the auto sector. It's always there in the manufacturing output. So it's pretty interesting to see these technologies come. All
And
the
before aviation, it comes from the defense sector.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Defense is
that's
the birthplace is a birthplace
absolutely.
for most of these
It's
technologies.
always
Yes.
the DARPA, the Pentagon, and we've always been speaking
CDMA,
about the
internet.
CDMA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Practically every tech has taken birth over there. Then come, the academics and the research institutions, they all get together. And then, of course, then the businesses, when they find sense in it, they pick it up and they
Yeah.
make sense of it. Yeah. But what did you find interesting?
This time I've been focusing on the AI announcements in CES, and what I found the common thread was that AI was being used for at the back end and for a lot of enhancements. I mean, be it LG announced its smart robot around the house, Flow Eye, yes. Samsung came up with Bolly 2, both with AI capabilities. Then, smart refrigerators suggesting, again, using AI suggesting, healthcare and nutritious, recipes. Okay. And even the Samsung and LG 8K TVs, okay, using generative AI to convert SD content into 8K content. So, and Weber and Perfecta, these grills, using sensors and AI to, grill your perfect steak. So AI was being used as an enhancement and an improvement across most of the consumer electronics that were launched. And Intel and AMD launched NPUs, neuro processing units. They call them, the AI ready CPUs for the laptops. That I think was anyway expected. I mean, you and I have been talking about this, that AI enabled chipsets and semiconductors will come into place, and Intel and AMD announced those. So these were some of the some of the announcements that caught my eye. But I was seeing how is AI playing a role in most of the consumer electronics, and as expected, it's playing the role of improving the user experience and enhancing it, overlaying that intelligent layer, and improving the use cases and the user experience of 2 or 3 areas of every device.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought you sort of nailed it. Of course, they've been speaking about AI and generative AI. Now, what I like is they're bringing in the whole part of generative AI. Even in the industrial metaverse, for that matter of fact, you were speaking about how generative AI is being, used. Of course, based on all the kind of LLMs that we already have.
Yeah, Volkswagen announced the integration of ChatGPT with their cars that they launched, ID3, 4, 5, and now you can talk to your car asking for the nearest Chinese restaurant or the French restaurant or stuff like that. And instead of going and doing the Google search, they do a ChatGPT search. So those integrations are happening. It's backed by both traditional AI and conventional AI and generative AI. So that's something that I'm seeing slowly but surely emerging. I think it will take another couple of years for the consumer electronics to actually integrate generative AI very well. Easily 2025.
Yeah, because see, I think even when Roland Bush invited folks from the industry to talk about how generative AI has been used, I like the fact that many of them clearly categorically said that these are pilots, that these are being we are experimenting with these things. These are in the initial stages, because otherwise you create a hype and then it gets back into the winter and then everybody starts questioning those things. So I think we need to go a little slow on that. A tremendous amount of stuff is happening even as we speak. But we have to temper the expectations. I think that's extremely important. Like, for instance, and I'm seeing a lot of convergence of these technologies. We have been talking about the convergence of technologies for the last 2 decades, but now you actually see them, converging. Where you see AI, generative AI, IoT, blockchain, sensors,
robotics,
robotics. And of course your whole thing, or your other part of the synthetic biology and all that stuff. So where you have biotechnology and synthetic biology, etc., everything coming together. Like, for instance, one of the keynote speakers was the L'Oreal CEO. Now, of course, the obvious question was what is he himself actually was expecting. He's saying, you may be wondering what is L'Oreal doing at CES. I think this is the first time that a company, where a beauty company,
cosmetics company,
you never seen. You wonder
doing
what
a keynote that too, exactly.
Keynote. So that was pretty interesting stuff. I think they were the sponsors also. I mean, for them to sponsor at CES means obviously they saw a tremendous amount of sense. Of course, L'Oreal calls itself now a beauty tech company. So
isn't everything a tech company now?
That's exactly the point. This is the interesting part. That banks say we are the tech company. Then you start correcting them. No, your work is to lend money and use money, and then use tech to make that more interesting.
No, so I'm building an AI platform solution for an apparel company which supplies apparel to all the big brands, the Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfigers, and it's a third generation company. Okay, started by the grandfather, father ran it, and the grandson is now running it. Okay, $100 million company, and they have a factory, they do designs, and they just produce the fabric and provide it. And they are also now building an AI platform and are a tech company. So isn't everything a tech company?
Yeah, I mean, clearly everything is a tech company, but at the same time, I think we should not be losing sight of the fact that tech is being used to solve a business problem.
Yes, yes.
Because just by saying it's a tech company, then it's like putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
So every time there's a shiny tool on the block, we are going to say, okay, fine, this works, and then get disappointed that this is not working. So it's like you're taking a hammer to put a small little nail in the
True, true.
wall. I mean,
Like
that's
we
a typical
spoke
example.
like we spoke in the last episode, exactly. It's the non-core technology companies which are actually leading the technology adoption with business cases and business problem solving. And it's the core technology companies which are leading the technology adoption with cutting edge pilots development and trying to find a problem for the solution that they have. So that's the clear difference that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and what I found interesting, like say for in the Siemens keynote when he was talking about the industrial metaverse, he spoke about the Pixar's USD format. Now that's become the AOUSD, which is the open kind of USD for it's an interoperable kind of platform. So I was pointing it out to some of my colleagues. I said, if you remember, Pixar is the very same company that Steve Jobs acquired from George Lucas. So it's got quite a history, that company. And the USD format, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, it's the universal scene descriptor. So basically, it collects all the assets and makes to put it very simply, it makes sense of all the assets and can weave it very seamlessly. So it's an amazing kind of format and an architecture kind of stuff. So you find that Siemens has been using the OpenUSD with NVIDIA. Of course, NVIDIA.
Yeah.
So you're finding a lot of this collaboration taking place where it is collaborating with NVIDIA, with Amazon Web Services, with many other companies. So you cannot have a standalone company. So other
No,
than
you
the
can't.
so
I
other
mean,
than the
and
convergence.
NVIDIA seems to be collaborating with everyone. They hit a high of 1.29 trillion yesterday. Their stock went, or was it Monday, 2 days back? Their stock went through the roof. I mean, it's they've hit their and I don't think they're anywhere near their peak, honestly speaking. Okay.
Yeah, now that you made
Looking at
this,
the partnerships and the business model changes that they're doing and seamlessly. Okay, I don't think they're anywhere close to their peak.
yeah, which brings me to a little controversial kind of topic in a sense, like Apple has been the apple of the eye of the market, for that matter of fact. Now the whole question is whether despite the fact I don't see too many Apple AI announcements that have made really that kind of impact that the many other companies have made, and you find that the smaller companies, whether it's an Anthropic, whether it's a Hugging Face, whether it's a Mistral, whether even that a fleshling company, which was probably not even part of the schedule or something, Rabbit, which
Rapid,
came out.
yes, R1. They
Yeah,
launched
R1,
R1.
a lovely kind of device that they had over there, which was, having Chat GPT on the fly, and the way they created that OS. What was interesting for me that they wanted to get rid of all the apps.
Mm.
So they're saying, okay, as far as the user interface is concerned, let's get rid of the app. Now, you have been a mobile guy. I
Yeah.
mean, right from Motorola days and all that. What's your sense of this Rabbit OS and
Honestly, personally, I love it because also right now I'm reading and deeply engrossed in this book called Indistractable by Nir Eyal, the same guy who wrote The Hooked. Okay. And Hooked is a book which is a Bible for all consumer internet companies, the Silicon Valley companies, right? He wrote Indistractable, and I'm trying to reduce my distraction, my screen time. In the last 1 week, I reduced my screen time by a third, which and in my current avatar of what I'm going through personally in life, I love Rabbit, which is essentially voice activated, and so is Alexa. So essentially, it's unlike a smartwatch or a mobile phone, it doesn't ask for your attention through notifications.
Yeah,
And
it's like a walkie. It's like a walkie-talkie.
it's like a walkie-talkie, and it does what you ask it to do, stream playlists or order a takeout or book a cab or something. And it's instructions based and powered by AI. So just like Alexa. So I kind of like it personally because then I'm not getting that much distracted, and here's a device which is not distracting me, but which is there for my truly being my assistant. Okay. And it's not using my visual senses to distract me or to take away my attention. So, and I quite like it. I think after an era of 10 or 15 years of the technology industry, especially the consumer in the consumer space, getting the consumers addicted to screens, it's coming a full circle where devices like Rabbit, okay, are going to be adopted more. I mean, include even Humane, right? Okay. Now we need a common platform, common OS, and a really flagship device to come out there. But I personally see a need and a case for these devices. Because I personally am on a mission to reduce my screen time and get less
Yeah,
distracted.
because this is pretty interesting because just yesterday I was having a discussion with some of my colleagues. So they were talking about, some of the developments at CES. They were talking about these translucent screens.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah,
I said,
I've seen the
so they
videos.
say, yeah, so how do you look, why do you need a translucent? So the whole question was, do we really need a translucent screen? So my basic point was that, you really don't know whether you need it or not, because some people may need it, some people may see a need for it. Uh, there is, in unimaginable ways people might end up using it, because you actually did not know what blockchain is going to be used for, or for that matter of fact how people are going to use AI. Look at the AI models that have been developed. Gen AI, for that matter of fact, look at the way people have been using Gen AI. So it's pretty different. And Rabbit, for that matter of fact, you look at Rabbit, it does not only talk about LLMs, talks about LAM, which
AMs,
is,
LMs,
yeah, large action
action
model.
models.
So basically, it's also converting the actions into the thing.
Another
So
term for us to remember, and for us to educate the audience, and for the
yeah,
audience to remember. Yeah, for the
the
larger world to remember.
LLMs, the SLMs, the
The
large language models,
LMMs,
the large
okay,
multimodal
multimodal
models.
models, and now LAMs.
And then, of course, the motherships, the foundation models,
Yeah.
or the frontier models, whatever you
Frontier
want to call them. I mean, oh my God, the amount of jargon in the last 1 year is amazing. But what do you think about, all these other kind of developments, the translucent models, the rollable screens?
So here's the thing. Personally, CES has always had a section, and every year to do with screens, right? I mean, big screens, 8Ks, 4Ks, 8Ks, then rollable screens, then, and then translucent screens. I mean, uh,
So what would you
I
do? What would you do with a translucent screen?
I I don't have a screen at home, and I've been living without a screen for what, 6 or 10 years now. Didn't feel the need to. Okay, now I might just pick up a projector to to project the live concerts and connect it to my
So
home
at
theater.
at at
So
CES, you have something that is a projector which can become a T, something like that. I mean, there's
something like that. So I mean, my point is, I've been going to CES for more than 10 years now, and haven't been to, but in the last few years. But screens have always been a separate section in CES, and these super sexy. And when I see, they also, when they come out and become production ready in the consumer market, okay, they also see adoption. Okay, I mean, 80 inch or 85-inch 8K LED TVs are a norm in these days in India. People, I mean, I never thought people would go beyond 45, 46 inches. Okay. And then
true. I mean,
50s
yeah.
came, and then 80s came, and so
Now
I
it
think
looks like
people
you
will
may just
find
want
it.
a home theater kind of stuff.
Correct. Correct. So I personally wouldn't go for it, but there's a reason why the Samsungs and the LGs are investing, continuing to invest, continuing to showcase. So and everywhere around the world, the
Yeah, and I
consumption is
said
there.
consumption, and the enterprises may pick it up for the very different reason. Like you
Yeah.
have this whole video conference, the teleconferencing, the video
Remember
conferencing.
Cisco WebEx? Remember
Exactly,
Cisco
is
WebEx?
exactly that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
The telepresence was
Telepresence, exactly.
yeah. So it was something very, very different,
Yeah.
So you never know what use enterprises would put it to. But of course,
Back in 2009, I remember having a Cisco telepresence call, and then companies need to set up a separate room only for the telepresence equipment, right? That those big screens and the entire connectivity, right? So yeah, I mean, big screens, clarity, bendable, curved,
and of course, there was also one of your favorite topics was hanging out there, hypercars.
okay, yes, yes.
So that should be interesting, if you tell our viewers and users what's the difference between a hypercar and your F1s.
Okay, F1 is the Formula One is the peak of automotive technology, right? I mean, it's when it comes to technology innovation in the automotive sector, that's as good as it gets. And hypercars are the cars which take a lot of these technology and and make them ready, put them in this one which are road legal, because Formula One cars, you cannot drive them on the roads, they are only on the tracks. Okay, but these are also extremely expensive cars. These go into millions, like when it comes to when it comes to cars evolution, sports car starts from like there's $100,000 price point, there's a $250,000 price point, there's a $800,000 to $1 million price point. Typically you see the Lexus LFAs and the Ferraris that are made
So the
only
cost,
300 to 500.
I have some numbers. The cost of the Devo hypercar,
Right.
which sold out in just one day, the cost was pounds, 4.7 million.
Yeah. So typically hypercars start from $3 million and go anywhere up. I mean, the Bugattis are in the $10 million right now.
But
Okay.
is it true that the first hypercar was somewhere in 1963, the Lamborghini Mayura? Because I was just doing some research.
Mayura. Lamborghini Mayura
The
is the classic.
P400. Yeah, the P400.
It is. So typically hypercars today, with the ICE engines, with the internal combustion engines,
Combustions, yeah.
typically do 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 miles per hour in less than 2.5 seconds. Okay. The electric ones do much faster. I mean, for example, purely basis that metric, the Tesla Plaid can, the 1,000 the 1,000 horsepower car can, be categorized as a hypercar. It's got a great launch control. Okay, it does under 2 seconds. It does 1.99, by the way. Okay, so but these are the cars which go into millions. They don't do races. They're bought by billionaires, and you hardly see them on the road except for if you're living in Monaco, probably. Okay.
So I was comparing it, to these fashion TV shows kind of stuff, where not every dress or not every everything that is shown over there can be
on the
brought onto
ramp.
the
Can be worn on the street. Can be worn on the street. Yeah. So these cars typically are the best when it comes to material science, the amalgamation of technology, all forms of technology, and the speed and the aerodynamics. Okay, they're built ground up, and there are only very few numbers that are made, typically less than 100. Okay, because they're so costly. Okay, but
and I think we spoke about last time when we were speaking about F1. I remember we were speaking about how generative AI was being used for the voice, and now again during CES you said that they have already spoken about it once again. So I think these offerings are going to be something that with edge computing you will find a lot of these offerings being.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
I mean, Formula One has been performing at the edge of technology, multiple technologies, and then slowly but surely they've been seeing into production cars and road legal cars much later, be it braking technology, be it wheels, be it aerodynamics, and all of that, including communication technologies. Okay.
But in India, we have about, I think, maximum, if I'm not mistaken, we have about level 2 automation cars. I don't think we have a level 3. I'm not too sure. Yeah. So if we have a level 2 car, I'm just wondering, probably this Gen AI voice activated kind of stuff using edge computing and, because the LLMs, I presume, would run in the car itself, given the if the computing power, I do not know whether, because these will have to be SLMs rather than
they need to be SLMs, and the cars need to have strong processors to run these models locally,
Absolutely.
because the cars themselves are moving, moving objects, right? So they cannot, connect to the cloud on a fly for LLM latency,
And
LLM's response
would
times.
there be dark spots also?
Oh, you can bet on it.
Because
You can
you
bet on
can't make
it.
a proper call nowadays, despite
You
the
and I
fact.
have covered telecom and worked in telecom long enough, and have seen the evolution
Seriously.
of telecom around the world, including India, to know for a fact that there's going to be dark spots.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's going to be the, going to play a spoil sport
Sure.
with all these developments. Anything else you would like to highlight, which sort of caught your attention?
No, I think we're just slowly but surely, rolling into the new year 2024. I mean, I think the entire AI, narrative and the hype is slowly but surely settling in, and people and the companies are also, looking at ways at adopting this. Right now, this week, CES and CES announcements have been the big this one, but nothing beyond that. I think slowly but surely we're all getting back to the new normal. Okay, the AI era, and people are realizing it. It's going to be the new normal, and they're making their plans and strategies.
Yeah, but before I conclude this podcast, I want to, two or three trends that I've been seeing, which of course we have spoken about two of them. One being, I mean, we have spoken of the first one, basically the collaboration and the cooperation between the
Yes,
companies.
yes,
The second one is clearly this entire thing towards open
open
source.
source.
Because a lot of these LLMs, a lot of these SLMs basically are open sourced
Yeah,
models. Even the USD, the Universal Scene Descriptor that I spoke
OpenAI and
about,
Microsoft
yeah,
are fighting that OpenAI, open source movement a lot. But I
absolutely.
guess even on their side, the genie is out of the bottle. Okay,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the open source, genie is out of the bottle when it
So
comes to
I
foundational
think we
models
should
and
elaborate
LLMs.
on these trends in the coming episodes.
Yes.
But the other third trend that which I want to conclude on would be that of AI and robotics, and we have been
Yeah.
speaking about this. So if you remember, just recently, DeepMind announced a mobile Aloha.
Right.
So that I thought was a pretty, I wouldn't say inflection point, but I would say yes, from a point of view
A
that
glimpse of the future.
a
Let's
glimpse of
call
the
it.
future,
Let's call
because
it that way. Yeah.
given the fact that robots cannot easily perform the kind of movements that we can do. For
Right.
us, like even a 5-year-old child can just move his finger, grab a bottle,
Right.
have a proper grip around a thing, or just take a mobile and play around it. Robots find it extremely difficult to do all the stuff.
Talking of that, I was watching the Joe Rogan experience, the Joe Rogan's podcast
Mhm.
earlier this week, wherein he had a sex psychologist and a sexologist as a guest, and she was talking about Real Doll and how far in the last few years, these companion dolls or the sex dolls, and this company Real Doll that makes them have come so far, and with AI. Probably, we should, when you're talking about AI and robotics, the companion, robots also play a role, and that's something we should cover.
Yeah, companion robots, both from the social point of view and from the asocial point of view. I mean, it'll have to be difficult. But I think also one more a trend or one more caveat in this entire thing is clearly, as we see in every CES that we have seen, or why CES only? It could be the Mobile World Congress, or it could be DEF CONs, or it could be any practical, whether it is an event by any of the big tech companies. Uh, Clearly security is very important, because you're talking of every device being connected to every other device. Now, if we are really going by the numbers that Ericsson and all had put out, something like what, 50 million devices by 2025 or something, whatever that number was, or billion rather devices. Yeah, it was billion devices. So now, if you look at those numbers, and if you actually say, okay, these are the numbers, and two things will happen. One is the data that they will spew out. So AI will have a lot of data sets, a lot of data to work on. should be a pretty interesting thing, because I think Roland Bush was already speaking about enterprises in the like the metaverse kind of stuff, the immersive technologies, etc. The kind of data that is being put out every month, it is equivalent to something like 500,000 videos every month. So I mean, that was and something runs into some 200 something petabytes or something. I don't have the exact number with me, but yeah. So that's one part of it. But more important is, if every device is connected to every other device, both for the consumers and the enterprises, this is going to be a very, very big, issue to address, or a very important issue.
From a strategy point of view, the issue that I see, I won't say the issue, the new norm that I see is the completely overhauling and changing value chains. Okay, for companies and enterprises, their vendors and clients won't be the same people that they've been dealing with for the last, many years or decades. Okay, so especially when we are talking about interconnected devices, interconnected solutions, okay, and various use cases and value proposition coming out. Okay, it won't be the same, and that at the CXO level, the CEO level, and the senior management level, I'm not sure how much of at least to a lot of people that I speak to, that understanding hasn't seeped in. Okay, that all of a sudden their vendor might not be the same vendor that they've been dealing with in the value chain for many years. All of a sudden a completely different company can be their vendor and their partner.
Yeah, imagine the nightmare for the finance department, because the finance
Yes.
departments have a set processes.
Yes.
So the CFO will just not allow a new vendor to come in without, the proper onboarding, because of I mean, of course, there are so many compulsions out there,
No,
and
this
most of the
interconnected
vendors
devices,
today,
yeah.
yeah, and
Go on,
most of the
sorry.
vendors today are actually startups.
Yeah,
So you're going to
exactly.
have a big issue, because there's a cultural kind of, a shock for the startups also, and for the CFOs of these enterprises.
We've seen one form of these interconnected devices overhauling the way companies work and behave with the mobile devices coming in about 10 years back, right? I mean, earlier, the enterprise mobile devices were only BlackBerries. So, the companies would buy BlackBerries for their, for their senior management and provision them.
And then you have BYOD.
Then you had BYOD. Now every smartphone, people are doing their this one on their smartphone. So they're accessing their corporate emails on their smartphone. So one level of the connected devices overhauling the way at least the enterprise IT works, okay, had gone through a huge change about 10 years ago. Okay. But now with AI coming in, I think that's going to go through an overhaul at a different scale.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, come to think of it, you're actually bringing LLMs into the company. Exactly. Because you're bringing the pocket LLMs out there. So if you're bringing a rabbit or anything for that matter of fact, like many of us would have these apps which are actually LLMs.
True.
So on the mobile devices, and once companies start integrating all the stuff, I mean, I really would sympathize with the CXOs.
Yeah, I mean,
from the point of view of
from a very
multi-vendors.
personal experience, yesterday I was sort of surprised. My daughter, who's 14 and is giving her 9th grade final exams, she and her friends are asking ChatGPT whether yesterday she had English language paper, right? So they were checking some of the answers, and they were checking it on ChatGPT and not Google search. So ChatGPT is becoming, for that generation at least, is becoming the default, this one for Google search. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not sure whether that's the right thing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah. Anyway, so that's for now, and we'll talk more about this next week. We'll elaborate on some of these topics.
Yeah.
So have a lovely weekend. Enjoy.
Yeah. You too, Leslie. Take care.
Take care.